Hi everyone, so welcome back to another video. Just going to make a few videos on what people have been asking for, especially during bike fits. I get asked quite a bit on how to do various things on the bike. So this is just going to be relatively simple video on just how to change a handlebar stem, which I get asked a lot. Okay, so I'll show you. So I've done the bike fit on this client, lady, and we're replicating the other bike's measurements onto this one. She's got quite a long stem onto here, for her anyway, compared to her live. So what we've established is that the stem needs to be shortened down. So I'll show you how to remove the stem and then fit the shorter one. So most stems, and of course this is a basic video. Yeah. So most stems, I say, are 4mm stems. So you've got generally 4 bolts here and 2 bolts here, and then the headset top, the bearing adjuster Allen key. So let me take these off. A bit too tight, so this is live, so I won't be editing any of this, so you get to see actually what does happen. The trials and tribulations of a bike fitter. So I've already measured the angle of the shifters that we finished with, which was 40 degrees, and I'll show you how I measure that. Hopefully the camera will pick it up. So yeah, you remove the loosen the 4 bolts, just remove it off so it comes off like that. And then loosen these 2 here. And then this one, which is the, I mentioned, the preload top cap, which preloads the bearings. And then that's that just comes off, just like that. And then the one that I'm going to be fitting is a BBB, 60mm, and we're going to run it at a -6 degrees. So that's just -6 is sort of when it's relatively flat. It won't be quite flat because the head tube is at 73 degrees. But if you run it flipped over like that, that'll be +6. I'll show you. So that's, don't know if you can see it in the video. Yeah, maybe. That's +6 and -6. Now, as you can see, this is a how to do video. You can see that the top of the fork is flush with the stem. Now, if I'd left that like that, you wouldn't be able to preload the bearings, because when you fitted this preload bearing cap, that would sit flush onto the fork like that. So you wouldn't effectively be able to pull the fork up by tightening this screw here. So what I need is basically a 5mm spacer, and that will just go on top like that. And that allows the fork to be pulled through and then preload the bearings. Obviously, if the fork was cut a little bit shorter, so it was just underneath the top of the stem, say 3-4mm, then you wouldn't need the 5mm spacer, because as you preloaded this, there would be enough room to pull the fork up. So just make sure it's roughly straight for now, and then I'll just nip that up. I'll check that later, the preload of the bearings, that is. And then I'm going to remove, again, this one's also got 4 bolts, so I'll just remove those. Make sure if you do drop the little Allen head screws that like I did earlier, make sure you don't lose the washer if it's got a washer with it. These have got little These are spring-loaded washers behind the actual Allen head bolt. Okay, so that's loose. Just grab your bars. These ones, I don't know if you can see, I've got a little center mark there. Line that up with the center. And just screw those back on. There you go, just like I said. If you can see that, but it's actually a split washer. See if you can see that on the camera. Probably not. But it actually acts like a spring, so it's like a spring washer. It helps with the, once you tighten the Allen keys, that they don't come loose again. And as I mentioned, the shifter was at 40 degrees. So what I'm using is a digital spirit level, and I'll just place that onto there. Can you see that? Yeah. And then just rotate the bars up to 40 degrees. There you go, 40 degrees. Okay. And then I'll just snip these up a little bit more. Now, one of the important things to do with handlebar stems, or at least that I like to do, is to make sure that the gap here between the stem front cap and the actual stem is even here and here, but also even at the bottom, on this stem at least, to make sure that there's even tension on the handlebars and the bolts. Now, some stems do say that there shouldn't be a gap, but just look out on the it's normally on the sides of the stem. It might even say 1 mil gap or 0 gap, or tighten these and then tighten the bottom ones. So just because I've nipped them up, there's a little bit more space on the bottom. So I'm going to have to loosen top and then just tighten these down, just so that I can have that even gap that I want. And also it just makes it look nice that you've done a nice good job and it's not all over the place and wonky. Technical term, wonky. And of course, just because I'm loosening and tightening these, I'll just have to check the shifter angle again. So that's good, that's even. This gap here is even at the top and at the bottom. So just check the shifter is level again, back to my 40 degrees. So I've lost 2 degrees, so I just need to come back up. And again, you could measure this with your phone if you've got a, most phones have a digital spirit level, at least one that you can download. And to check that, or indeed if you've got a spirit level at home. Right, and then these Allen key screws just get done up to 5 Newton meters. What you want to do is almost like a crisscross pattern, so you won't be able to see that, but you'll be able to see a moving the torque wrench around. And what that does, just by doing a crisscross pattern, is it makes sure that the bolts are done up nice and evenly. Unfortunately, seems these BBB stems have quite a shallow head, so you have to be careful. It's just slipping a little bit. 5, 5, 5, 5. And what I'll do is I'll just come around a little bit more, just do that. So I've gone there, and then bottom one again. And this torque wrench just has a very subtle click. There you go. Okay, and then just straighten it up, and I'll just nip this down again, and then these are the same. So I'll just do it by hand first. Move up the camera shot so you can see what I'm doing here. And then once I've got a little bit of tension on the screw, these ones are quite loose. I'm just going to check that I haven't moved the stem to make it straight. Okay, and then I'll just tighten these in. These are the same. These are also 5 newtons. And it's the same as the front. You want to go bottom, top until they're both nicely even tensioned and you hear the torque wrench. There we go. And there you go. So it's even tension on both 5 Newton meters. Okay, so it's really important that, and I will check this preload, but I'm sure it's at the right tension once the bike's off the stand. But it's really important that you preload the bearings, because if you don't, when you apply the front brake and if you hit bumps, the bearings and the fork are going to move in the head tube. They'll move front and back or forward aft, and that could elongate the bearing seat at the top of the head tube and the bottom of the head tube down here. And then there's not much you can do about it. You can put some shims in there and try and space it up. So it is important that those bearings are nicely compressed, but not overly compressed, because then you won't be able to turn the handlebars nicely. So just a nice gentle pressure, so there's no forward-aft movement. And then arguably these are the 2 most important bolts to tighten, because if you don't tighten those, you're going to have a crash, because you'll turn the handlebars, the fork will go one, or the wheel will go one way, the handlebars will go the other way, and you just don't want that happening. So preload the bearings first, fit this on like I said, and even gap, even tension between the bolts, and then tighten those on. But please remember to tighten these, because obviously if you don't tighten these and you leave home or wheel your bike out the garage or your shed, it'll be quite obvious if you haven't, because the bars will just roll forward, and so at least you're not riding. But if you haven't tightened these, it won't necessarily be obvious. So you want to tighten those, and then that's it. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Of course, if you have any other questions or any comments, let me know, and I'll carry on producing a few more of these videos on how to do. Thanks very much. Bye.